Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to...
What had happened was...
Yes, she got it right. Yes. What had happened was... I am Karyn Bryant here with...
Angela Overkill Hill.
That's right, and this is episode 4 of the What Had Happened Was podcast, where Angela and I talk about the fights that happened, we preview some fights, we talk about pop culture, just basically a lot of other stuff as well. But we are definitely here for those of you who may be new to the sport, trying to get involved in it, and also for the hardcores, wouldn't you say?
I think so. I think we're all-encompassing fan group. We could sit in any section of the UFC stands in the arena and have a conversation with someone, and it'll be interesting. So, yeah, I like to say that we're welcoming everyone.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so last week's show was after the Super Bowl. I was a little tired. I got a little more energy today because last week was really tough. I was watching Tom Brady and I would drink because I was like, he's not on my team anymore. He's not on my team anymore. But anyway, had a good week. There were fights last night, Angela. Obviously, we can talk about Kamaru's defense at UFC 258, and we can look a little bit ahead to the Black Beast fighting Curtis Blades this weekend and stuff. But overall,
thanks.
I always feel like when I'm talking with a fighter, I always have to ask, even if you don't have a fight coming up, like, how was your fight week? How was your camp? What'd you get better at this week?
Yeah. Wait, is that a question for me?
Yes, that's for you, Angela. What'd you get better at this week?
Me? Oh, I'm thinking that you're setting up what you're going to talk to.
No, you're a fighter, so every now and then I'm going to actually ask you a fighter question, like, what'd you get better at this week?
Man, well, I don't want my opponents to watch this, but since they must know, just been working a lot of takedown stuff, a lot of chaining, wrestling, and chaining cage positions, and it's fun because when you see a fight card like last night's, you see a lot of stuff that you're working on, as a fighter. So a lot of the stuff that unfortunately, Maki was doing in the first couple of rounds before he got submitted. A lot of the stuff that Hernandez was doing well. Those are all things that we've been working on, popping up against the fence, getting reversals, digging for underhooks. Dominic Cruz's class,
underhooks.
Yeah, get the underhook. Turn them off the fence. And
I did an overhook. Sorry, underhook.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, they're both good.
Right.
Underhooks are better, but to each their own. But yeah, just doing that. A lot of chain wrestling. A lot of just going from one position to the next. So it was a good card for education purposes for me because I'm seeing what's working, what people could be doing that they might not have really gotten to yet. I saw a lot of positions in the Grasso Mallory Martin, Maycee Barber fight where I'm just she could get a trip there, she could do this, she could do that, and they were just kind of going back and forth on cage, which I usually do when I get stuck on a cage. So it's cool to see those progressions in my thinking as a fighter, ooh, I know what she can do.
Well, that's cool. And you know what? Honestly, we could start with that fight, the co-main event, because you and I, before the event started, I had texted you just my main and co-main event picks, and I did pick correctly.
Yeah, you did just as good as my puppy.
I did as well as your dog, so yay for me.
Yeah,
whatever that means.
You're both.
But yeah, I did think that Kamaru. I did think it was going to be an and still as well, even though I think Gilbert is fantastic, and I also do think that Maycee is very good, and I do think that Maycee has a very bright future. But to me, it was all about Alexa's composure, and that's what I kind of tweeted out after. And I just kind of thought going into this fight that it was going to be that kind of thing where she just has more experience. We know that I was in Mexico City for her fight with Carla Esparza. It was a very close fight, and while I do think Carla won that fight, I know a lot of people were back and forth on that one. I do think Carla won it that night, but my point is just that I think Alexa is obviously we know a great boxer, but I just really like her composure, and I did think in this case it was going to be a situation of just someone with more experience, more composure, as good as Maycee is, and as aggressive and as she shows so much heart, right? Maycee just totally went for it in the third round. There's so much to like about Maycee. I just really did think in this case it was going to be the older, wiser, pro was going to be able to weather, the storms that Maycee would bring to her, and just kind of use her better technique and sort of ownership of the octagon experience to win the fight.
Yeah, definitely. Grasso definitely used that cage experience. She was able to wait a bit, which sometimes gets fighters, the more technical fighter, in trouble. But she was just doing a really good job of waiting for Mallory to come in and then hitting her right on the nose as she come in. Or Maycee. These M girls.
I know.
Yeah, waiting for Maycee to come in and just hitting her right on the chin as she come in, right behind the ear, and getting off center too. Like her head wasn't always like right in the middle line. And a lot of times when you have a pressure fighter like Maycee, gotta remember Maycee has a cell. Maycee, but yeah, when you have a pressure fighter like Maycee, getting your head off of the center line as she comes forward gives you a chance to punch while she's punching. Right. So she can be coming forward, getting past her range and right into your range as you're moving back, and you could just like lean off to the side and hit her. And Grasso did a really good job of that. She had like nice long jabs like Usman did later on that night too. And she was just picking her apart. And I feel like Maycee, after eating a couple of those counters, it freaks you out a bit. You're like, wait a second, why am I getting hit before, like, why am I getting hit while I'm trying to hit them? I'm missing and they're landing. I don't understand. So you could see her punches get a little shallower. She wasn't really extending. And I think Grasso had a little bit of a reach on her, but Maycee just wasn't extending on her punches, and it really messed her up in the first couple of rounds. The third round, she was just finally said, fuck it. I got to do something because this isn't working, So she finally went forward. She threw her haymakers and just pushed into that range that she was trying to get into in the first couple of rounds. And it was just a little too late for Maycee, but Grasso she was an excellent counter boxer. She showed great chops on the ground. Even when she got taken down a couple of times, she was able to scramble and get to the better position and really win the round strong. So kudos to Grasso. She's been evolving, especially since she got to 25. She's been showing up to more fights. I know when she was a strawweight, she would get hurt all the time, have to pull out of fights, and it was really tough for her. And I kudos to her for finally saying, okay, I'm gonna move up and weight and be a healthier fighter. And now she's a stronger fighter as well. So yeah, it was a great co-main. They lived up to the hype. They threw bombs, and like it was a scrap. Third round was probably my favorite round of that fight, just because like they were both going at it.
Yeah, it really was a very entertaining fight, and I agree with you that I really like Alexa as a flyweight now. She had missed weight sometimes at strawweight, and I think one time, it was pretty bad. It was like a 5 or 6 pound miss, if I'm not mistaken.
That was her last one, yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Like we've spoken about, I know we're only on episode 4, Angela, but we've spoken about this in the past, that I probably weighed $115 in 4th grade. So the fact that any of you guys can like make that like is insane to me. And so any woman that's like, I don't want to weigh 115 pounds, I'm like, yeah, I know. So I give her a hug and a pat on the back for fighting at a weight that feels better for her. And I thought she did such a great job. And like you said, she even did threaten some things on the ground, which was kind of new. We know that, with the boxing, she and Irene Aldana, work together, and they have such great boxing. But it was really kind of fun to see Alexa showing off some things on the ground. And I don't know what it is about her. There's something about her. She's just got that sweet little angelic, you know what I mean? She's just so there, and I find that adorable. Like I love that she has this like great little countenance, and then is just there and feisty and ready to throw down. I love that. Yeah, I think it's great.
I always make fun of her head movement because it looks like a little doll. Like you have a little doll and you're just like moving it.
Yeah. But it really was a good performance for her. And, like you said, they rose to the occasion in the co-main event. A lot of times people, some people get kind of mad if there's chicks in their co-main, and a lot of us do know that, that the women throw down a lot more. I guess my question to you now, though, on the flip side, Ange, is, okay, for Maycee, so she had the fight with Roxy Modafferi last January. It didn't go her way. She did trash her knee during that fight, and a lot of the backlash came off after that about Maycee maybe not respecting Roxy, not taking the loss the right way. She got a lot of pushback on her reaction to the loss and what she said about it. So now it's a year later and you lose another fight, and you can maybe justify in your head, okay, that's my rebuilding fight. I came back and this is the fight where I just wanted to test out my knee or, feel how good I'd feel. But still in all, still 2 losses in a row. But on the other side, she's still incredibly young, and I do still think has an incredibly bright future. But just like, where do you think her mindset is right now? If you're coaching Maycee, or if you're Maycee, like, what do you tell her?
I just tell her, hey, you fought a really good athlete. You showed growth. She got some trips against the fence. She went for it at the end, and it really is a matter of trusting yourself. I felt like she was way too cautious in the first couple of rounds, especially like the first minute of the first 2 rounds. She was like extremely cautious, didn't want to step in, didn't want to like throw those bombs that she has, and she wasn't setting them up when she did throw them. So I would say, hey, look at your 3rd round. Look at what you did that round, and let's apply it to the first 2. So then you're not trying to play catch up. You're already there. Like, I think a lot of like me, my teammates, like we all suffer from starting too slow. And then when you have that last round and this is it, this is all I can do in order to win, I got to give it my all. It's like, wait a second, you finish that last round, you recover, before a minute's over, and you're like, man, why didn't I do this the first and second round? Like you forget that you're able to put all of your energy into 5 minutes and then recover before the bell rings. So I think a lot of people worry about gassing out. They worry about making mistakes in there. And when your back's against the wall, all that goes out the window. So it's like, man, I made it to the end of the bell in this 3rd round, even though I wasn't worried about what's going to happen to me if I throw a hard punch. I wasn't worried about getting taken down. Like, why couldn't I approach the 1st and 2nd round that way? So I think it's just a matter of trusting in herself. Trusting in her power and trusting in her ability to recover from a mistake. And, getting injured in a fight, that can really mess you up when it comes to trusting yourself, And I think that's the best thing someone like an undefeated fighter has, is they have full trust in yourself. They don't know how to lose. That's what a lot of people say. You forget how to lose because you trust in your abilities so much. And once you lose or you get hurt or something happens where you feel like, man, if I just didn't do this one thing, the fight would have gone another way, it can make you overly cautious. So, the sound is back. What is happening?
Oh, are you there? I could hear you the whole time.
Yeah, it just popped up.
Oh, okay.
Let me just wait it out.
That fuzzy sound?
Yeah, it's just like a...
That's so weird, because again, I don't hear it.
Can you, does your microphone have an on button?
An on button?
Yeah, like, can you turn it on?
No, I mean, I just plug it in or I don't.
Okay.
Is it still making that sound? Is it still...
It's gone. It's gone.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's so weird, because like I said, I don't hear any of it. It's so strange.
Yeah, I'll just stop when I hear it, and then we can
okay.
keep going. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I would just tell her to start trusting in yourself and go back to when you were undefeated. Go back to that mindset when you had full confidence and you could start the 1st round and finish just as hard as the 3rd round, and you're consistent the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and again, maybe that's just a question of experience, right? Octagon experience, and that's something that she will learn. I know what you mean, though. Like, I feel like even though I'm not a pro fighter, I played a lot of sports in my life, and I still play, you know, tennis, like on a team and stuff like that. But like I played a lot of sports in my life, and I know what you're saying, like the feeling of, oh, I actually had more to give and I didn't leave it all out there, right? Like that's what you're talking about, right? Like you get to the end of the third round in a 3-round fight, and then you realize like you had more to give. Yeah, you should have pushed it more early on, right? I mean, is that just something that you figure out over time? Is knowing exactly where your gas tank is? Like when did you, Angela Hill, figure out what your gas tank was?
I still don't, man. I still don't know. Every time I have a fight, I'll look at the strike count from the last round, and I'm like, what? Like, how is that double the first and second round? So I always have to go back and reassess myself. I'm like, okay, I could have pushed harder. I could have pushed harder. And every time you get a little closer to finding your limits, you know, you get a little closer to figuring out how hard you can push. And honestly, like every time you fight, you realize you probably don't have a limit. It's just it's really just a mental thing. You figure out when to push, when to recover, when to push. But those pushes, you can push as hard as you want, and it's just a matter of figuring out like how much you're willing to do. You know, how much are you comfortable with putting out there?
Well, and does that sometimes, I would imagine, depend on your opponent?
Yeah, it depends on your opponent. It depends on what feedback you're getting back from them. Like, if you're going all out there and you're not landing anything and you're getting messed up, then yeah, you're gonna back off a bit. But if you do have them in a spot where like you're dominating or you're pushing them back, you're landing everything, they're missing most of what they're landing, then there shouldn't be anything holding you back. And I think I've been in that situation where I'm doing well, I'm winning a fight, but if I had pushed harder, I could have finished it. Yeah. And it's always hindsight, you know, hindsight's 20/20. Yeah. But yeah, it's something that every athlete struggles with, I feel like, you know, you have to remember when you're in the gym, you're training for an hour straight. So, it's coming back. Yeah, you have to remember when you're in the gym, you're training for an hour straight. So 15 minutes is nothing. 25 minutes even is nothing because you're used to going hard, recovering, and going hard again. So I think it depends on your opponent, your conditioning, how prepared you are. But ultimately, if you have a full fight camp, if you feel like it was a great camp and you feel ready to go, like you should just push it, like push it from bell to bell, and
push it real good.
Yeah. Ow!
Push it real good.
Exactly. So
I might need to add that to my jump rope workout. Well, I will say this though, I do think, a nice win for Alexa Grasso. For Maycee, she has so much time, and it's like this is when you should lose early on in your career. You learn what you know what I mean. This is when you make your mistakes. You learn from it. Everybody knows you level up after a loss. So I'm not worried about Maycee. And for Alexa, I think solid fight for her, and I'm really excited to see what else she does in that division.
Yeah, and 25 is such a quick climb to the top. Like Alexa beats Maycee Barber. She's beating the ranked number 10 girl who is very inexperienced relatively. So Maycee, if she goes back, she fights anyone top 10 and below, she's going to have that learning experience that she needs to get back to the top. And she's only 22. She has so much time. I don't even want to say how much younger she is than I am.
I was going to say we're not going to talk about that.
I'll beat her up. No.
Thankfully, though, Angela, this isn't going to crack for a while, so we're good.
Hey, there you go.
We're good. I'm actually 75. All right, so Ange, that was the co-main event. We know that the women always deliver, but I want to ask you about the main event. Beforehand, you and I had texted each other. Both of us thought it was going to be Ann Still. I think Gilbert is incredible. I think he is so talented and so gifted. But listen, I work with the champ. I know the champ pretty well. I see the champ and I see the confidence. I just see a lot. And and even when I know about the injuries and things that I don't talk about or whatever, I actually did feel really confident in Kamaru going into this fight.
Nice.
He's just incredibly dominant. We've seen already what he did to so many other people. And to me, honestly, it was less about what Durinho offers, and I think he offers a lot. Explosivity, to use Michael Bisping's word again, but the knockout power, the fast twitch, the amazing jiu-jitsu, and also Durinho just wants it so bad, right? There's something about somebody who wants it so bad and he's on the climb. But Kamaru is just so good, and after seeing Kamaru do what he did to my buddy Tyron, and like seeing what he did to Colby, seeing what he did to Jorge, like. And honestly, I met Kamaru early on, right? Just like how I met you on The Ultimate Fighter. So I met Kamaru really early on doing The Ultimate Fighter and met him through Tough and everything. So I've seen this young man. I've seen the process. And I'm not surprised he's a champion. And like when you see that skill set, he's just so good. I was not surprised that he won, and I don't know who's going to beat him for a little while.
Yeah, man. I feel like that was the toughest test out there. Right now, just the way that Burns has just come up, he's destroyed everyone at 170, and his momentum was just undeniable, right? Like nobody was mad when he got the title shot. But yeah, like I was a little worried for Usman. I don't know him as well as you do, but I was a little worried just because you see it all the time. Technical fighters, and Usman is super technical. He sticks to his game plan. He weathers the storm. And sometimes a technical fighter who's used to weathering the storm and then coming back and outclassing, every now and then they get caught. He got wobbled a little bit by Burns, but he knew that was a possibility and he wasn't afraid of it. And I think that was the biggest thing that like set him apart. Like when he says, I'm the varsity athlete, he knows that, okay, there's going to be some hairiness possibly, like everyone gets hit, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that I'm going to lose this fight because I have a solid game plan. I believe in my jab, and he showed it, man. That jab was awesome. And it's like one of those things, right? I was talking with Adam. It's one of those things, like as soon as you see that on TV, everyone in Monday is like, okay, jab and then southpaw jab.
Yeah.
Let's do both. Let's switch it up, And the fact that he went southpaw and threw that jab and it landed hard, like harder than as hard as a cross sometimes. When you switch stance and you throw your jab from the other opposite stance, that jab was powerful, man, and it dropped Burns in the second round and the third round, and then ultimately it was over. But man, super impressive. I was worried for Usman a little bit, but I still believed that he was gonna pull it off. And yeah, he did. He showed that he does deserve respect on his name. So maybe now people will put it on his name.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to put some respect on his name. But I agree, like round one, Durinho dropped him, right? So Gilbert dropped him. We know Gilbert has hands. I worked that Brasilia show where Gilbert took out Damian Maia. I've worked a lot of Gilbert's fights, and I really like him so much. Like I said, it wasn't about not thinking he can be a champ. I just didn't think he can beat Kamaru, you know what I mean, right now.
Right.
That's really what it was. Not that he doesn't have the makings of a champion, and not that that's not something that he can be in the future. Just the Kamaru that I know right now, that dude's really hard to beat, So really that's kind of how I was looking at it. But yeah, for me, it was that jab, and we know that the switching stance, people do that. It's so like but some people switch stance, and all of a sudden their defense goes out the window when they switch to one side or the other. Like some people kind of do it. It's not always effective, or they do it to try to maybe throw their opponent off. But sometimes it has differing success rates. But. Whatever. Kamaru was doing a lot of right things. I did, though, at the beginning think, oh, no, like, this is close.
Yeah.
So great for Gilbert, and that should give him a lot of hope going forward, you know. But for Kamaru, putting the respect on his name, a lot of people don't do that, and everybody loves George St. Pierre, and I love George St. Pierre. But Kamaru passed George St. Pierre. Kamaru has. I did a little after the facts video, Angela.
Okay.
After the facts, people can find it on my Karyn Bryant YouTube channel or on my IGTV. But here's the thing: so Kamaru now, that was his 13th consecutive win in the welterweight division, which is insane.
Oh, wow.
So he's got the second longest active win streak in all of the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
The longest win streak was Anderson Silva with 16.
Nice.
But he passed GSP now for the longest win streak in the welterweight division. And it's so crazy, right? Because everybody loves GSP. They love GSP, and GSP's name is carved into Mount Rushmore. And Kamaru is passing him in record books, and like people are like, what?
But did they love GSP when he was champion? Because I remember
not everybody.
I remember when I was a casual fan, just doing Muay Thai, no big deal, and I was like, man, that guy GSP, he's so boring. He's such a like. I remember
a lot of people said that.
I remember that, and then I actually met him, and I was like, he's so nice. Okay, I love him. Yeah.
Here's a little secret. In person, he's fine.
Yeah, he is. He is. It's deceptive. He doesn't look like it. It's like kind of like me.
He doesn't look it. He doesn't look it in person.
And you're like, oh, okay, okay. Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
And you know that George likes the chocolate milk, right?
I've heard from multiple sources. But I think I think we're both a little too.
I'm way too light. Yeah, I'm way too light.
Well, no, I think we're a little too. Yeah, we're a little too.
Yeah, from what I heard, it's dark chocolate
and voluptuous chocolate.
Yeah, and like more power to him.
Yeah, get it, man, get it, GSP. Yeah. So anyway,
I know we digress.
I'm like, what are we talking about again? I don't I'm just imagine like GSP at a strip club in like Atlanta or something. Giving away all the Canadian dollars. I think a lot of times champions are regaled. Is that the right word?
Yeah, regaled,
when their championship is over. So,
right. Yes, maybe in the moment they're not as appreciated as they are until after the fact when you can look at all of the things they accomplished.
Yeah, like I remember everyone wanting Anderson Silva to lose because he would clown his opponents and play with his food. I remember Mighty Mouse being like the most dominant champion in history, and everyone was just like, he's boring, you know? So I feel like a lot of it is that. It's like the Britney Spears thing. Like they want someone to get really high just to watch him fall. Usman already shaved his head, but it wasn't because he's nuts. But a lot of it can be for other reasons too. Like it could just be the way that people perceive him. And I think Usman is a great character. I think maybe he turned people off with his 30% thing speech from back in the day. But I feel like the moment Usman won me over was when he posted a picture of his daughter laying next to the championship belt, and she had her little bonnet on.
Yes.
And everyone was like, what kind of hat is she wearing? I'm like, excuse me. I think I even had to chime in. I was like, actually, she's protecting her curls.
Actually. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. Don't get me started on the stuff with Kamaru and his daughter because, it's so sweet. And when we are at work together, a lot of time, that is a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. I'm looking at pictures of this little sweet baby girl, and he so wants to be the right kind of dad to her, you know what I mean? And actively involved. And it's so cute to watch him doing her hair and all that. Like, I'm there for all of that. I'm there for all of it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the 30% thing, because I remember that at the time. And I was one of those people who misunderstood him as well, right? Because at the time, a lot of people thought he meant, I only performed at 30% because that's all I needed to use to beat this guy. Mm-hmm. What he really was saying was, my body was only able to perform at 30% and I still beat that guy. Like that was his point. His point was not like, I don't care about you fans and I'm only going to show up barely to do my job. No, it was like, I'm this good. I only need 30% to beat this fool. Guess how good I am when the extra 70 is here too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I was fully guilty of misunderstanding that the first time. And I thought, bad luck, dude. You shouldn't tell people you only tried 30%.
Right.
And then I realized, I was like, like, I think Kamaru is great. I think it is unfortunate that, like you mentioned, the Mighty Mouse and stuff like that there are these kind of dominant champions that people don't always support and get in line with until later on, you know. And yes, George did get critiqued for being boring. Some people said, all you're going to do is take people down. All you're going to do is, you know, whatever, jab and take people down. Well, jabbing and taking people down got George really freaking far. Yeah. And I think he was more than that. But yes, people critique Kamaru. They're going to have to just freaking come around, because guess what, bro? All your favorite dudes are probably going to lose to him. And like, that's really what it is, right? Like, to me, I'm trying to remember what fighter was like that for me, where I was like, this freaking guy. Yeah. Like, and I was mad, and it might have been John Jones, if I'm honest with you, because I'm like, this dude, come on, man. Like, but it was only because he was beating people I liked. You know what I mean? Yeah, it wasn't because I couldn't appreciate and like marvel and love his ability. It was just like, he's beating my favorites, and I'm mad. And I feel like that's how it is about Kamaru.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he doesn't really do too much outside of the cage to, like, you know, he's not shucking and jiving on, hey, look at me, I'm Jesus, I'm Nigerian Jesus, you know, like he's not, you know, putting himself out there. Yeah. And I don't think he has to, because his fights are so impressive, you know, like he doesn't have to like go, hey, look at me, I'm a character as well. But you know, some people are just more reserved, and I think he has promoted himself in a way that he feels most comfortable, and for whatever reason, people are more into these other characters that are in 170 who are, I don't know, I guess they speak to them more, you know. And Usman speaks to some people, he perturbs other people, and that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. But I think he's a great champion. I think just the fact that he has he has such a hold of all those different skill sets, you know, like he's an amazing wrestler, he's an amazing striker, he can switch stances, he can do all these things, he can plan out an attack and then execute it exactly as they planned. He can listen to his corners and adjust, you know, and then adjust again midway through the second round. Like he's just such an impressive athlete, and his fight IQ is just through the roof. So I feel like a person like that, like they don't need to like walk around in Gucci robes or whatever and you know, try to impress the casuals.
For sure.
Like,
but he does represent well. Like, I mean, I'm not, believe me, homeboy's wearing top of the line stuff. But yes, I know what you're saying. And I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at Adam behind you, like lurking. I'm not sure what he's doing.
What did he do? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm in the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's lurking, trying to improve our Wi-Fi.
Nice. Very nice, very nice. Well, yeah, I'm not sure exactly who is next for Kamaru. If George comes out of retirement, or maybe if it's, you know, people are saying like Wonder Boy could fight Colby or Holby. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, who do you think is next?
Well, I think, did Dana say that Leon Edwards and Colby Covington are fighting?
Well, right, because Leon was supposed to be fighting in a couple of weeks against Hamzat. I was working that one. Hamzat, unfortunately, is out. I know Wonder Boy then piped in and said he could fight Leon, which, yes, please, would be awesome. But yeah, well, there's something in there, right?
Yeah, so whoever wins that fight, like if Leon Edwards finally gets the fight, like I feel like he should have gotten the title fight anyway.
Yeah.
But since they're not just going to give him the title fight, whoever wins that fight, that should be title contention.
Yeah.
So if it's Wonder Boy, if it's Covington, hopefully, like, if Covington and Leon Edwards fights, he's able to beat him so that we're not having like a rematch
Right.
I feel like nobody really wants to see. Kudos to Covington if he can get the win, but like,
right.
I felt like it was pretty.
It seemed
it was pretty clear. Like,
pretty clear,
it wasn't
yeah.
Like, it wasn't like people were like, "Oh, we need to see that."
So
fight.
close.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty cut and dry. So I think that would be a great match. Like whoever those two, whoever's fighting Leon, whoever wins that fight,
right?
I feel like that would be really fair to give them the next title shot.
I'm not gonna lie, like seeing a Jamaican flag like in there as a champ flag in the UFC would be pretty dope. Leon's Jamaican English and all that, so
okay, yeah,
it'd be pretty cool.
Does he do both flags or just Jamaican?
I think he carries both. I mean, I guess he's
cool.
really kind of I guess he maybe represents England more than Jamaica, but he's both,
Yeah.
But he's both. Okay, so there was a lot that went on Saturday. The other fight that though, there were some good fights. I know there was a lot of talk about Polyana Viana and the Joe Rogan thing, and I don't know how you feel about that. Like people were weirded out that he brought up the whole thing about her beating up the. I'm not gonna go there. Then
I missed it.
Well, because she beat up a guy way back.
I remember when that happened.
Right, and so then he brought it up in the interview, and then I'm just seeing that like people were upset about it or they were cringe. Angela, I don't know what upsets people anymore, and believe me, we are going to talk about the Gina Carano thing.
Oh, okay.
So, because talking about people getting butthurt and upset about things.
Yeah.
So we will address the Gina Carano thing. But anyway, I digress with the Pollyanna thing. Anyway, I just thought nice performance of her. But the fight that actually, to me, was a real important fight was Kelvin Gastelum getting the win over Ian Heinisch. And Ian Heinisch is a great guy who has overcome a lot in his own life. And I do think has again, I know I've said this before, but like a bright future. But to me, this fight was so much about Kelvin and reaffirming who he is. Yes, he's dropped a few fights in a row, but he's dropped him to Israel Adesanya, Darren Till, and Jack Hermanson. So his strength of schedule is so good that it sucks that he lost to these people, but he gave Izzy all he could. And you know what I mean? One takedown. If it weren't for that takedown, right? Like Kelvin could have been the guy fighting Jan Blachowicz. So bad idea, but I'm just, you follow where I'm going. But so I think people started to write Kelvin off before they should. Everybody knows I stand for King's MMA, big old stand. So I'm not going to pretend I don't. But it was a big important fight for KG, and I think he pulled. Yeah, obviously he pulled through. But I think it was just one of those fights where he was just like, no. Let me remind you, I do know what I'm doing here, and yes, I have stumbled against some incredible competition, but let me remind you, I know why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's anything more impressive last night than Kelvin taking that knee and getting a double leg off of it. And like, it was like the flare of the legs was so beautiful. I'm like, how did he do that after eating that knee? It was just, repetition, just being in the gym over and over again, doing that over and over again. And he just, he was on form. And it was a little scary, like right in the beginning, right? He almost like ran into a submission. It was I was just like, oh God, no, Kelvin, no. Because you feel for someone. When you lose first round submission, you just rack your brain like, why did I move this way instead of that way? Like you're just going over and over in your head. And the fact that happened in the Hermanson fight, I was just like, okay, oh God, okay, good. He made it out of the first round. He did well. He won that round, I believe. Yeah. And it was a great fight. It was just like a great like back and forth fight. I feel like both of those fighters, they didn't lose any stock in that fight.
Yes.
And especially Kelvin because he won. But yeah, there were so many back and forths. Like I felt like that was going to get fight of the night. But were there fight of the night?
There was no fight of the night, Angela. If you watch my After the Facts video,
Oh, I did, but
You'll see that there were only 4 performance bonuses given out. There was no fight of the night.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it was a nuts fight though.
But I think you're right. I think that could have been it if there was going to be one. Or you could have given it to Alexa and Maycee.
There were a couple in the beginning.
Just because I like the chicks to get extra couple dollars if I can.
Well, but yeah, you know what? I'll back you on that then.
I know it didn't really. I don't. You know, there really wasn't one fight of the night that stood out. Although, to be honest with you, I might have given it to Maki Pitolo and Julian Marquez.
You know what? The fight before that too, it was Hernandez and what was the other guy?
Yes, Hernandez and yes, I know we're both like this. We're like, you know, the jiu-jitsu guy.
That guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so how good was it though to get Julian Marquez back? This poor Cuban Missile Crisis has been out for like 2 years. He's got such a fun, lovable Instagram, and to be honest with you, like, even though this dude hasn't fought for the last couple of years, I think he's done a real good job of like keeping his fans and his his people engaged, and he's such a likable guy. But there were a couple of moments where I was like, "Oh, that sucks for Julian to be out for 2 years and to just die like that so early in the fight." And then he pulled it off in the end and got the anaconda, which is one of only. There's only been 21 anacondas total in the whole UFC. And he is
that on your after the fact.
I have my facts. There's only been 21 anacondas, and he's the 18th person to do it. So that obviously means somebody's gotten a few of them themselves. But yeah, the 18th person to sink an anaconda.
Nice. Yeah, that was sick. That was so sick. And every time he got close, I'm like, oh no.
I know.
Oh no, it's gonna happen again.
Oh no.
Yeah, he just got really good at grabbing that neck on the shots, and man, poor Maki. I felt bad for him because he had just a perfect game plan, right? This guy Julian, he was just so big and so strong and coming forward. As soon as Maki would let up the pressure, he'd come forward and try to just take over the entire cage. And it felt like he had a really good strategy. Okay, I'm gonna push him up against the fence. I'm gonna tire him out. I'm gonna take him down a bit. But yeah, once it got to the third, it was just he was just too. I felt like he was a little too gassed at that point. It was a lot to take on, controlling a big guy like that.
Right.
It was really a lot to take on, I feel like. So yeah, that was a great comeback. I think he was down 2 rounds.
I know he was hurting. Question for you, Ange. What's the longest layoff you ever had to come back from?
I think maybe at least 7 months.
Okay.
At least 7
months.
Because
I'm really curious. And like I said, his social media is a lot of fun and really positive. Like Julian, you can tell he's just a good dude.
Yeah.
But I'm lying if I'm saying I really would love to know what that inner monologue was during that walkout. How much of it was, yeah, baby, finally it's time, and how much of it was, oh, shnikes, we haven't been here in a while. What am I doing?
Man, I think it depends on how often you fought before the layoff. Sometimes it can feel like, oh, we're right back where we started, right back where we stopped, where we left off.
Yeah.
Together. And then when you're not that active, I feel like it can be a shock. Oh, wait, what do I do? What do I do with my hands? Bilal has a funny video.
Yes, I love
Bilal. My inner monologue during the fight or before the fight starts. But it's so true. You're trying to keep yourself revved up, but not too revved up. And this is every fight. So with that added pressure of, okay, I haven't fought in so long, this has to go the way that I want it to go. It can be a lot. But I feel like a lot of it is excitement. When you've just been pent up, you get cagey. You know what I mean? If you're I have to do dog references now that I'm a dog owner. It's when you have your dog in the crate overnight, and then he has all this energy when you finally let them out. They're like, ah!
Right?
They just can't contain themselves. They're just wiggling all over the place.
Right.
That's kind of how it feels. You waited so long to just beat someone's ass and just really put it on them. Like, you couldn't do it in training because they're your teammates, you don't want to be a jerk.
Yeah.
But like when you get in that cage, it's just a whole different animal. So you're just ready to go. You're vibrating. You just can't wait for them to like ring the bell. You're like, get on with the names and everything. Like, let's just go. Let's fight. And I think you see it a lot once the fight finally starts. Like, you see that they're just like in there. They start immediately. They're in the face of their opponent. And after that, like, all the nerves go out the window. It doesn't really matter what you were thinking on the way in. It's just like, okay, I'm here.
Well, I think it was smart for Maki to start fast because, if I'm coming at a dude who's got a 2-year layoff, bam, I would want to start fast too. But great adjustment for Julian. He's just a lot of fun. I don't know, Miley Cyrus, if you're listening. Julian's a good dude. Yeah, take him up on it.
Yeah, that's so funny. So what, he wanted to date Miley Cyrus?
Yeah, like he said something like, "Hey, Miley, would you be my Valentine?" And then I guess she wrote back something like, if he would carve in something into his chest or into his chest hair or something, like, I don't even know.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I bet he's gonna do it though.
Okay, so listen, Ange, we're at the 46-minute mark. Okay. I want to ask you. Maybe we're at the 40s. I don't know. Some of this might get edited out. So people will be like, no, I've only been listening for 32 minutes. What did you edit out?
Give or take.
That's the good stuff that you would love to know what we edited out. But anyway. So listen, Gina Carano. Angela, I have to get your take on this because long story short, Gina Carano, pioneer women's MMA, transitioned into acting, had a great job on The Mandalorian with Disney, which I believe Jon Favreau wrote specifically for her, this role of Cara Dune, if I'm believing what I've read, based on things that she has said on social media. She has lost her job on The Mandalorian, is now going to be doing a film project with Ben Shapiro and The Daily Wire, which is kind of more of a conservative website. I'm just curious what your take is on all this, baby girl.
I'm kind of curious what the movie is with Ben
it said it was something that Gina wrote, and I guess she either wrote it and is going to produce and star in it or something. I don't want to misquote it, but I was looking at some stuff before. But the Daily Wire, I guess, is a conservative site or something, and I don't read it, so I apologize if I'm misrepresenting what it is. But that she's going to be working with Ben Shapiro to put this project out. That's been a dream of hers. And she said something like, hey, they can't silence our voices. And, it's a dream come true for her to be able to get her project out now, her voice and stuff. So I'm curious what your take is on all this.
I mean, I think it's, first of all, I totally think it's okay that she got fired. Okay. Everyone gets that meeting where you have to, they're like, okay, these are the things that you can't do. These are the things that you can't say, because you're representing a company and the company has to appeal to their customers. Yeah. And it's really just a business decision. It has nothing to do with, what the Disney people's beliefs are, political or what have you. Their customers were angry at the things that she was posting on her social media. She's a character on a kids TV show. Kids and adults, but
yes, I'm we all love Star Wars.
Yeah. It's for everyone. Yeah. But and the parents of the people, or just the people in general who are fans of the show, they don't want this type of message getting out to the people who they love. Mm-hmm. And it's understandable. She's doing anti-mask stuff, which I think it's pretty obvious that I'm very left, but
I'm shocked.
What?
I'm leaving the podcast.
Yeah, right? I just popped my afro off just kidding. I'm actually, no, I'm not who I say I am. No, it's very obvious I'm very left, but at the same time, I have, friends, teammates who are right-wing. Mm-hmm. I have people who don't believe in wearing masks. I think it's stupid. I think it's irresponsible, but at the same time, I'm training in a gym without a mask on. So like, I'm a hypocrite, but I'm not trying to tell everyone else to like go to grocery store and not wear a mask and go coughing all over the fruit, So I think it's irresponsible to try to promote that idea that like, hey, the government is controlling you by making you wear a mask. No, we're trying to get past this pandemic so we can get on with our daily lives. And then she's posting, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was the one where she compared being a Republican to being a Jew in World War II. And in Nazi Germany. And like, I hate when, like I was just telling you about the Black Hitler thing. Like, I hate when people try to take an inconvenience and like, or just people criticizing them, and they try to compare being criticized to being wiped out. They try to compare it to genocide.
It's a big leap.
It's a huge leap, and it's disrespectful to anyone who has family that's endured that. It's disrespectful to anyone who's felt any type of racism or just based off of like, their religion or their race or whatever. And it just goes to show that like maybe she hasn't had any experiences where she has felt belittled because of, what she was born as.
Right.
So her picking a side and being, I guess, belittled because of it, that feels like racism to her. That feels like genocide to her for some reason. And hey, like, she's going to think what she thinks. I'm going to think what I think. But, the majority of Disney's customers were like, this is bad. Yeah. And they had to respond by firing her. And I don't think that she should, or anyone should be surprised by that. It's not silencing. It's not cancel culture. It's PR, it's like, taking care of a bad PR. Like, okay, let's get rid of that. That's making us look bad. All right, moving on. So I think I do think that cancel culture is a really dangerous thing, and it's happening more often because like everyone's so involved in social media and everyone's putting all their thoughts out there, and every celebrity can be tracked from back before they were a celebrity and saying dumb shit online. So I do think cancel culture is irresponsible, or not irresponsible, but a dangerous thing that we're kind of falling into. But at the same time, I feel like this is something that would have happened 10, 20 years ago. If she had come out with those statements 10, 20 years ago as a celebrity, they would have to discuss it and have words with her and possibly fire her. So yeah, it's not I'm not surprised is basically my answer.
Yeah. I will say this too. A few things. I agree that cancel culture goes too far. I think that people are like way too ready, willing, and eager to cancel somebody for saying one thing that, I do think it goes too far. Although I don't even watch The Bachelor, but I look at headlines, I'm like, this effing guy! So, but anyway, so I do think cancel culture goes too far. And that said, I have always really liked Gina. So I believe the first person to interview her on TV when I worked for Showtime Boxing. I remember we were down at the Home Depot, and I remember interviewing Gina, and she had a cute little hat on, and like we were doing this whole thing, and because I worked for Showtime, and I worked for like Elite XC and all this stuff, so I covered a lot of Gina's fights earlier on, and like she's a star, right? And so it was really cool. And so she was a great girl, and we always got along well, and it was really fun to see her. And like the big, like the interview or the weigh-in with Chris Cyborg is like one of the videos on my Karyn Bryant YouTube channel that does very well still. And it was just this little shaky camera thing that I shot or whatever. But anyway, so I have a long history with Gina in terms of covering her fights and things. And we did things on the air at Showtime. I remember when she did the movie Haywire, I actually did the press junket for that. And I went, and it was so funny because I walked in the room to see her, and we're like hugging, and we're like talking. And Ewan McGregor, funnily enough, Star Wars connection, he was in the movie too, and we were talking anyway. But I remember being in the room. I used to do press junkets all the time for this other job that I had, and all these people were like, didn't know who Gina was, and I was like representing. I was like, that's my girl. You know what I mean? I was like, that's my bitch. She's that, and whatever. So I have a lot of love for her. I really do. But I don't agree with everything she said online. You know, I don't. And like you, I do believe in masks. I do believe COVID is real. I've unfortunately had friends that have died from it. I think it's real. I believe in it. And so I don't think it was, you know, I don't think it's a government conspiracy. I think it is a real thing. I do think masks help, whatever. But I do think cancel culture goes too far. But like you said, really to me, this isn't a question about free speech, because she has free speech, you have free speech, I have free speech, we all have free speech. You just have consequences is all really what it comes down to. And so when people equate saying what you want and then getting fired with saying that you don't have free speech, it's like, well, no, you have free speech, but you just have to recognize the consequences. And like you said, when we sign contracts, there are things in there that you can and cannot do. I have a thing from the UFC that tells, you know, how I need to comport myself or whatever. And if I do X, Y, or Z, they have a reason to fire me or whatever. I believe that's probably really what it came down to with Disney. It is a company. If you say some things that they think are going to affect their bottom line, and people are going to stop subscribing because they don't like, you know, I mean, it really just comes down to the dollar, right? And so, I wish her luck with her other stuff, and I hope it works out. Like, to me, nothing's equivalent to Star Wars. Like there's nothing equivalent to Star Wars in the world. To me, I'm like, I was looking at the stuff, and I'm like, I can't believe someone would lose a job like that. Like, I know. It's the golden goose. Like, it's literally crazy. The golden goose. Like, I've joked about how I want to be in a Star Trek thing, because I think I'd be a freaking badass Klingon. But like, there's only a few things in the world, right? There's Star Wars, there's Marvel. There's only a few things in the world that are untouchable, guaranteed, you know, iconic, whatever. And I'm like, you don't blow that job. Like, like, so to me, the situation is more about like the shock and awe of like, wow, what a great opportunity and what a terrible meltdown.
Yeah, well, she must really believe in this shit.
That's what I'm saying too, and I guess that's what it is like being brown-skinned. Like, I knew I could never say what I really wanted to say, and so I've never been afforded that privilege because I knew the consequences would be so hardcore, and so it was like, wow, you said what you said. Ooh. I mean, I feel bad. I do feel bad, actually. But I will say this too, Angela. I know I'm ranting.
No, go ahead.
But it's not that hard. I will say this. If somebody wants to be called she, I'll call her she. If you want to be called he, I'll call you he. If you want to be called they, I'll call you they.
Oh, yeah.
That's not that hard to me.
Mm-hmm. It's not. No, I don't think it's a big deal. And I think what people get really weirded out by is that they're like, well, what if I use the wrong pronoun? Like, and it's like, okay, they're not going to, like, go on a shooting spree because you like use the wrong pronoun. They'll go, oh, please call me this. That's all. And then you do it. And then, like, you know, that is what it is. And it's not a big deal. Right. And it's like, if my like, I don't know, if my cousin decided to change their name to something stupid, I'd still call him that, you know, maybe I'd still call him, like, you know, Aaron instead of T-Bone, but like, but if I really wanted to make them happy, I would call them T-Bone because that's what they want. So it's like, it's still a choice, you know, it's still a choice. You can choose to be annoying to the person asking you to do something, or you can choose to not be. I didn't tell him, but like when Mike Perry was going on his tweet rants and saying the N-word all the time, and he actually like said it to an actor that I really looked up to, and I was like, hey man, that's not cool. And then I get all these Mike Perry fans going, free speech, and it's like, well, yeah, I have free speech too. Like, it doesn't mean that I can't tell him that it's not cool, you know? And it's not cool to me. It may be cool to his stupid little fans, right? But it's not cool. And that's really all I was saying, because I know that I'll see this person in person and maybe have to smile or want to smile at him, but I won't be able to because something I felt like really deep in my heart, like I need to tell him that I don't think this is cool,
Right.
you know, and everyone has the right to do that. Everyone has the right to say something disrespectful, and they all have a right to be called on it. And
Yes.
I think oh, and we should mention that Mike Perry actually said that he's gonna stop saying the
Good.
N-word. So,
Good.
hey,
Yay. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't feel like it's that hard to be socially conscious. And yeah, I actually didn't hear what Gina said about trans recently.
Right.
But I think she did say something back in the day about Fallon Fox, right?
I think so, yeah. And again, like I don't parse over every single tweet or post that she's done either. Yeah, I just know that she had gotten some heat in the past because people were saying that she was transphobic or whatever. I don't know if that's the case. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people, if we both know, Ashley, a lot of people have talked about Fallon Fox and where, you know, it's appropriate, what kind of opponents, and that kind of thing. And so I don't even want to open up that can of worms, but
whole nother topic.
Yeah, no, my point really was that I don't think her free speech was eliminated, and we all have that right. It's just that, yeah, people just need to know that speech has consequences. Is really all it is.
Exactly.
Anyway, speaking of speech, did anybody speak to you with some questions, Ange?
Yeah. How much time do we have? I have so many questions.
I know we don't have a ton of time because, surprise, surprise, the two of us together tend to yap a little bit. I don't even know. It's so weird.
No. Well, maybe we can sign out and do the questions on the YouTube channel. I don't know.
Yeah. We could do that, but I want to look real fast.
Okay.
If we had some questions, well, I do know that. Oh, I know. Well, people are curious who you think should be next for Kamaru. I mean, we kind of said that. You think it should be? You think Colby should fight Wonder Boy? Is what you were saying?
I think whoever fights Leon Edwards, whether it's
Colby Leah. Oh yeah, right. Okay,
yeah,
the winner of Leon,
winner of that one,
right.
Winner of Leon's fight.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you, Angela. You got a request to fight for the lingerie fighting league. Two things about this. One, I'm a little offended they didn't ask me to at least call the fights. Or something, but no, I don't.
There was
but anyway,
a referee in there.
I really don't want any part of it. Bless their hearts. But you know what I mean? And it's funny because when that came in, like half the stuff, I don't know if it's good. Like, do you get weird stuff, requests like that all the time?
Oh my gosh. I don't get as much as I used to. And I think it's because I've been posting more of Adam. Like, hey guys, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this stuff. Yeah. But yeah, like I get a lot, like my girls get a lot, especially the girls with the OnlyFans accounts. Like they get extra, like triple, quadruple. Yeah. Just by having those accounts and that accessibility. But yeah, you get that a lot. And I think because a lot of girls aren't like, super dismissive of that type of thing, route, then you have them reaching out to whoever. But it's a long reach still. Like that, I even checked it out. I was like, let me see what this lingerie fight league looks like. And I was like, oh, it's just like a little too much skin showing for my taste. I was like, maybe it's like a cute little bikini wrestling thing. And
Angela, we were on Fight Island, and you don't have a lot of fabric on your body when we were on the beach.
Yeah, but that's the beach. I'm not worried about anything popping out. Like I'm not doing any hard exercises.
Yeah, right. You're in control of every. Yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right.
And even still, if like a hard wave comes, I'm like, woo. So yeah, I'm still pretty reserved.
It's funny because I get people saying the same thing. They're like, "Yo, KB, when you starting that OnlyFans?" I'm like, you don't want to see it. You really don't. Like it's. You don't.
Yeah, man, I need another paycheck so I could go and sub to all my friends because I have a lot of girlfriends on OnlyFans and I want to support them. Yeah, man.
So how explicit do they go?
What's that?
Like how explicit are they with their pictures?
Everyone's different. Everyone's different. But like I actually haven't like subbed to any of them because I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for all that.
But they get naked?
Everyone's different, man. You gotta sub to find out. But not like no one's that I know of is like having sex. And that's like when you get into people have
do
sex
it on
it's a sex worker page, man. Well, it's not.
I thought it was just like cheeky pictures and like.
No, it's everything. There's some girls who are really like doing everything. Yeah, but no one that I know. But yeah, it's just like it's a sub site. Is it basically the appeal of OnlyFans is that there's no censorship, or very little censorship. So there's a lot that you can get away with on there, and it's basically just Instagram, but you pay for it.
My OnlyFans, the sexiest thing you would ever see is me and like my bra doing a jigsaw puzzle.
There you go. People will pay to see that.
I'd have the nerdiest OnlyFans in the world. They'd be like, look at me reading this book. Oh.
But that's the cool thing is like everyone has a different kink. So you will appeal to all the book fetishizers.
Look at me studying my Portuguese.
There you go. Yeah. Put some reading glasses on. They'd be like, oh, yeah. Look at me over your glasses, please.
No,
but
thank you.
It's, I mean, with the pandemic, like OnlyFans has been helping a lot of people.
I'm
like,
sure.
And buy things like.
I'm sure. Look at. I'm not trying to hate on. I'm not hating on anybody trying to make a living. I'm just saying for anybody asking about mine, don't hold your breath.
Yeah. Hey man, they're making more money than me right now, so.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hey, so listen, Angela. I am really not a tech savvy person, but I was smart enough to get us listed on iHeartRadio and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if people want to listen to this show as an audio download, they can find it there. Just go and look for What Had Happened Was. There might have been one or two other shows that used to have that name a long time ago. So if people are searching, they could put What Had Happened Was and just put Bryant in as well to make sure that ours pops up. But once again, we are on Spotify and on iHeartRadio and on Apple Podcasts. You can find this, if you are looking for the visuals, on my Karyn Bryant YouTube channel, as well as Angie's IGTV. For me, on Instagram, you can follow me at KB Heat. Everywhere else, it's just Karyn Bryant, K-A-R-Y, and Bryant as in Kobe. We have MMA Heat across the platforms as well. But Angela, where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Angie Overkill. I have a Twitch channel I don't really use, and I have a podcast as well as What Had Happened Was called Ceremonial Weigh-In Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Okay, I need to ask you a quick timeout on your Twitch. What game do you mostly play?
Man, see, like I haven't been playing any games lately. Like I always play these nerdy games, but sometimes I'll jump on Call of Duty and play Warfare. Sometimes I'll play like XCOM or something like that. Just something like really like nerdy, like a RPG or a strategy game or something like that. Okay. So yeah, just popping. I like older games too. I like retro games. So anything with good pixel art, I'll be playing that as well.
That's cool. All right. Well, I will challenge you to a game of Centipede at some point.
Wow. Centipede, eh?
Centipede's my jam. I'm actually total crap at video games and stuff. Like I'm a button masher. I'm a total spaz. I can play Dance Dance Revolution. I can play a little bit of Mortal Kombat. I suck at Little Big Planet, but I like it. It's cute.
It's cute.
And otherwise I'm trash.
Well, you're not Little Big Planet. You can't really be good at it.
My daughter's great at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a generational thing.
I only ask because, like I said, it's someone I'll have to watch. I'm just terrible at video games. But
Tetris.
Tetris. I'm pretty good at Tetris. Yeah.
Okay. We could Tetris it out one day. That's my jam as well. That's my
Pretty good at Tetris, but yeah. So this weekend, Curtis Blades versus the Black Beast. I will be working those. So heading to Vegas on Thursday. Derek Lewis fights are always entertaining. Curtis Blades, though, this time, Angeli, this is going to be a tough fight for Derek because Curtis is so good with the takedowns. But I'm looking forward, and of course, we'll talk after that one, right?
Yeah, let's do it. Gonna be a good one, and we will chat it up next week.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us on
What happened was.
See you next time.